One of the rabbis used to teach here is a very special man. And he told me a fascinating thing. There was a Yid whose name was, his name is Shalom Yisrael Chadakov. Rabbi Chadakov has one son and one daughter. His daughter is Mrs. Kramer, and his son is Rabbi Chadakov, Shalom Yisrael Chadakov. Shalom Yisrael Chadakov grew up in 770. That's all he knew. Before he went to Al Tater, before he went to school, he came and played in his father's office. He came back from school, didn't go home. He was a ben yachid, nobody home to play with. He hung around 770. There's a lot of very sweet stories with the Rebbe and him as a child yet. The Rebbe once walked into the secretariat, and the secretariat of the Rebbe always had a lot of svarim on the wall. That a whole bookcase full of svarim. And the Rebbe turns to Shalom Yisrael and says, "Why are you playing?" I think it was before Bar Mitzvah. When are you going to know all this? When are you going to know all these books? Shalom Yisrael Chadakov always had a tape recorder. And it was a big joke. If Chadakov was around, there was a tape. Somebody once asked the Rebbe, is there a recording of this Sikha? So the Rebbe laughed, said Shalom Yisrael was there. He had this big fat tape recorder, this big old tape recorder, but he was Chadakov's son, which means he had access. And there were many occasions when in the middle of yechidus, they would bring the tape recorder into the Rebbe's room because the Rebbe was speaking something more formal. The Mashal is a famous occasion, many times that college students came to see the Rebbe as a group. So they would literally carry benches into the Rebbe's room so they have places to sit. And Chadakov would put on the floor, under one of the benches, his tape recorder. So a group of students went into the Rebbe in the middle of the night for yechidus, and the tape recorder was brought in. The students walked out, and the tape recorder remained on. And you can hear what happens after yechidus. The only detail I'm not telling you is who told it to me. Otherwise, I'm taking it on me. So the yechidus finishes, and I read in Rabbi Groner's book, this is a parenthesis, I read in Rabbi Groner's book, that when the Rebbe finished yechidus, he would ask Label, is yechidus finished? And the Rebbe would say yes. And the Rebbe's face would suddenly look exhausted. During yechidus, the Rebbe looked beautiful, looked very fresh. But as soon as it was over, you saw how tired he really was. His body would change. You could see that he was fatigued, it was exhausted, it was very hard. So the tape remains on. And the Rebbe sits down at 5 o'clock in the morning to learn. And you can hear the Rebbe singing as he's learning. He's muttering, he's talking to himself, Lent, Teire, Zeir Zis. And the phone rings. It's the middle of the night. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. And this was a normal schedule. The Rebbe never slept, never does. Who calls the Rebbetzin? And the Rebbetzin wants to know when the Rebbe's coming home. And I promise you, the Rebbetzin wasn't calling up the Rebbe because she was worried about her sleep. She was worried about the Rebbe. All she thought about was the Rebbe. And the Rebbe didn't take care of himself, and it was her job to look after him. And the way the person told me the story is that you can hear the Rebbe sort of apologizing to the Rebbe for being so late. I'm coming home soon. But Poshet Gevot Eislener, the Rebbe is after a whole night of talking to people, what's they get done? That's like Gezef Lenin. They still don't learn. Sometimes you learn Teda for no reason. I heard once, and this I don't have a good source for because I don't remember from where I heard it, but I heard it as a bocher yet, many years ago, that on a night when the Rebbe fabrengt, he couldn't sleep. When the Rebbe fabrengt with us, he'd be so excited for the fabrengen that he couldn't relax or sleep. In fact, a ganze Nacht lernen. If there was a fabrengen mit Neulam, after the fabrengen, the Rebbe would go home and sit a whole night and learn. He was in an elevated state that then he can't schlafen. It's a mashal. Gimel shoyes reshein zekadosh baruch hu yeshev eizim b'teira. 3 hours. Hashem just learns Torah. Just learns Torah. Nothing in the world but Torah. And that's the source of this idea of Torah, which is Mo'mayla Lamata, from the heaven to earth. I tell you something very, very sweet. And of course, I'm hoping that it's going to go out on the internet, and people are going to hear about it, and people are going to say, how do I know it? Why did I repeat it? And I just ruined the whole lubavitcher. Those are my plans. 67. How is it in people studying Torah to levels? The answer is Lishma and Shalei Lishma. 68.